Recently, I watched the Minecraft movie.
I'm Steve.
But there was one thing that the movie didn't have, besides a good plot, and that was an enchanting table. I feel like they should have had one. So I thought it'd be fun to make it myself, but instead of doing it in my usual 2D softwares like Photoshop, I thought I should do it in Blender. Before this, I never actually used Blender. I was pretty scared of nodes.
What the hell is even that?
But since it's just a cube with some textures, I don't think it'll be that hard. And I'm too impatient to actually learn the software, so let's just go straight into making the enchantment table. Plus, I can technically make a donut in Photoshop, so do I really have to do it in Blender as well? Okay, so here is where my mood probably starts to go down, because I just wanted to make an enchanting table, but instead I somehow opened a portal to hell. This is the most confusing shit I have ever seen. I feel like an alien. But what I did know is that I needed some textures, so I grabbed 2 different rock textures, one for the obsidian and one for the diamonds, and then a cloth texture for the cloth. I also downloaded some more stuff later, but I started the design by making a small cube and then putting it in the corner and doing that 3 more times, which will end up being the diamond part. So now let's add a texture for the diamonds, which means nodes. Which would have actually been pretty scary if I didn't have ChatGPT, but I do, so that definitely helped. I really can't explain what I was doing here. I was basically just trying to make it look cool. But the diamonds are clipping through the main cube, so I had to remove those sections from the big block, which was actually pretty easy. I did somehow leave these mini cubes in the middle, but I don't really think that matters. So now let's add a new rock texture and make it dark with some purple in it. I also made it a little bit glossy, but it's still pretty flat, so I added some roughness, which definitely made it look a lot better. But something that needs to go on top of it is this red cloth, so I made a flat plane is what they call it. And ChatGPT told me to add 30 cuts, but I decided it wasn't enough, so I put it at 60, which was cool, but probably not as cool as 100 is what I thought, and that was as high as I could go because I tried putting it at 1,000. Then I added some effects that I honestly couldn't explain, but it's supposed to make it act like cloth, and that's when I realized that I could kind of make a small version of those shorts where the character ends up having a boner for some reason.
I'm a motherfucking boner. I got a motherfucking boner.
So for the beginning of the animation, I'm gonna have the cloth flop onto the block because, I don't know, that's cool. But the cloth is just clipping through the block since it's not high enough.
It's the biggest piece of dog shit.
So that's pretty easy to fix, but now it looks weird when it interacts with the diamonds. So let's cut the corners off the cloth like the original. I cut out the diamond blocks from the cloth, but then I just went around and cut out some more parts around the corners. I didn't think it had to be exact. And then I also smoothed out the edges, but now I'll put the texture onto the cloth with the nodes. And then I checked the animation. But I guess we should also make a background for this, which should look like a library or something. And I soon realized that an entire library would probably explode my computer, but I made a floor as well as a wall and then duplicated it 3 times, and finally added a ceiling on top. I also added a door, but eventually I deleted that, so next I added the textures to the new stuff I added and made it look all good. And don't forget to subscribe or I'll steal all your diamonds, but all the textures and stuff I found on the internet were free, and luckily I found some bookshelves and some books. So I added a bookshelf and everything was going fine, but then I added a book and I just knew this was not gonna work, so let's just forget about the books and add the shelves. But once again, I ran into another problem when I tried adding a 4th shelf, because originally I wanted to have 3 shelves on each wall, but this completely slowed down everything on my computer, which I haven't mentioned is a MacBook, so I don't really know if this was a good idea to start with. So I ended up just putting 1 bookshelf on each wall, which I later realized I could just remove one of the walls because the camera won't see it. But next I needed to add a light source or something. I really don't even know. Usually I would explain what I'm doing, but like I said, I have no idea what's going on, all just to make something that the movie didn't. Also, I swear I thought it was called an enchantment table, but apparently it's called an enchanting table. Is that like a Mandela effect or something? I don't know. Either way, I'm confused. So after that tiny little crash out, I'll now finally add the book that goes on top of the the enchanting table, which luckily I didn't have to make myself, but then I'll put some textures on top of it as well. But I thought it would be cool if it kind of looked like it was floating, so I went to the timeline and added some keyframes and then made them smooth, which was basically the only thing on this entire platform that was somewhat familiar to me. It would be cool if the diamonds were kind of emitting light, and I tried to do that with the nodes, but it never ended up working for some reason, so I just added a new light light source right above one of the diamonds, and once I found a good spot for it, I duplicated it 3 times for each of the corners. After this, I set some keyframes for the camera movement, and then I thought I was done, so I adjusted some of the render settings and then hit render animation and went to bed. When I woke up, the animation was perfect. And then I woke up again, and this is what it looked like. Yeah, it was just black. Some people would say there's nothing wrong with that, but there is something wrong with that because black is not what I wanted here. So I tried to figure out what was wrong, and my solution was this. Instead of rendering the entire 8-second animation as one video, I'd render each individual frame as one image, which meant 250 different images. I also decided to change the render engine from Eevee to Cycles, because to my knowledge, Eevee is faster, but Cycles looks better, so I thought, well, why not use Cycles? And 2 hours later, I realized how fucking stupid that was because I'm on a fucking MacBook and it's only rendered 8 out of 250 frames. So I just canceled the render because I actually needed to use this computer to edit. So I switched it to Eevee, which was definitely a lot faster. So finally, after 2 days of this, I really can't explain it. This is the final animation that I got. And in the future, I think I should just stick with my regular 2D softwares. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos in the future.